Right.
What?
Gorilla croquet.
Gorilla pumpkin?
Somebody mentioned the crescent moon tonight, and I imagine we all enjoyed that as we were coming here. I came from Santa Rosa, and I had a number of traffic problems. I barely made it here, but it was worth it because that meant I could see that crescent moon that I might not have paid attention to. On November 15th, we had the last supermoon of the year, the full moon that brings the tides, that illuminates danger, and that raises the spirits of the darkened soul. When I met my husband, I was very drawn to his love of the full moon. It was something I shared. And for many years, I would spend time with him honoring and watching the moons as they became full month after month after month. My husband was born on November 15th, which was the date of the last supermoon, 74 years ago. And years after that, on another November 15th, he spent his 11th birthday in the hospital, where a physician curtly informed his worried parents that their promising boy had diabetes. Years later, again in November, my husband went through one of the many ravages that he would live through because of his disease. The small vessels behind his eyes began to leak blood. Within weeks, in fact on Christmas Eve, he had lost his sight altogether. I met him 10 years later. We went for a walk in the park, Golden Gate Park, and that's all it took for me to know that this was the person that I would be spending my life with. He was my rudder, and I was his sail. We complemented each other, our weaknesses and our strengths. Sometime later, my husband, who was so witty and warm and compassionate and intellectual and honest, seemed to have retreated into himself. So on another walk, I asked him how he was doing, and in a faltering voice, he was finally able to tell me, "Jen, I'm in end-stage renal failure." We were among the very lucky few who were able to find a perfect match. Within a few months after the horrors of dialysis, Don received the kidney from his older brother, and as his surgeon quipped, it perked up and peed the moment it was connected. Don took very good care of that kidney. And thus it was that we spent many, many full moons together, year after year after year. He would say, Jen, wait, is that the full moon? And I'd say, "No, Don, that's a street light." But I'd take his hand and I'd say, "But the full moon is so bright, it's brighter than the street light, it's over there." And we would both enjoy that moment. As time went on, his remaining kidney function had continued all that time, but no vessel can continue to sail forever. And so it was that we found ourselves in comfort care in a hospital as the spirit of my husband tugged at the moorings of his body. After 3 sleepless nights in the hospital, I woke up with a renewed spirit. I went to the picture window and I pulled open the drapes. And there, in broad daylight, covering the window, was the gossamer orb of the full moon. My husband breathed his last 12 hours later. We had always believed in organ donation. And so when they took his body down to what I would like to call the sacred birthing place of life in the basement of the hospital while they awaited approval of any kind of transplant organ retrieval, I had to answer many questions by the organ network. And by the end of that, I thought, there's no way anything is going to be salvageable. And so I gathered up all the things that one accumulates on these vigils, went to the parking lot, and drove home with the beams of light from the silvery moon covering my way for the first of many nights without the captain of my ship. Days later, I received a letter. We regret to inform you that none of Donn's organs would be workable for organ transplant. And after reading some more kind sympathy, I read that they thanked me, and I thought, well, why are they thanking me? They just told me his organs don't work. But tissues are another matter. And so they said, however, one of your husband's corneas was salvageable, this delicate little shell was then given as an immutable gift to a stranger. And thus it was that the blind gave sight to the blind.
Genevieve Franklin, everybody. Thank you, Genevieve.